Welcome and hello, MACC members. I'm Laurel Hansen, MACC's Program and Member Engagement Manager, and welcome to the Ask MACC Workforce Edition podcast, brought to you by the Metropolitan Alliance of Connected Communities. We know our network is faced with ongoing and incredible challenges when it comes to workforce. Our workforce is how we provide valuable services to the community, but our workforce challenges can create difficult hurdles for our organizations to operate sustainably. There can be complex and seemingly insurmountable barriers to deal with. And that's why at MACC we launched the Workforce Solutions Initiative, and that includes these bite-sized recorded conversations about workforce issues, along with the resources that are available in MACC's Workforce Solutions Hub. So during this brief conversation, I'm joined by friends from MACC member Ignite After School, Kari Denissen-Cunnien, Executive Director, and Darian Lofton, Program Associate at Ignite. And thanks, you guys, for being with me today.
Thanks for having us, Laurel. We're thrilled to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I thank you as well for being with us today. We have a really interesting and impactful topic of conversation for today's podcast, and that is creating a skills-based workplace, doing skill building in the workforce. And I knew when we spoke earlier that you were leaders and an organization that I was interested in having this conversation with. So I'm really looking forward to talking with you both and hearing your perspectives. Of course, before we jump right into that, I think we need to get to know you a little bit better. Kari, maybe you can start by introducing yourself, telling us just a little bit about Ignite and your leadership role and your background, whatever you want to share today.
Sure, thank you. Yes, so I have been with Ignite After School for about 10 years as the executive director. Prior to coming, and I'll share a little bit about Ignite in a minute, but prior to coming to Ignite After School, I worked for the city of St. Paul, for the mayor's office and the education policy team. And I've done a lot of work in youth development, out of school time, after school program, really collaborative building, community building, systems building work in that space. And I've also been a youth worker. I've also ran youth programs, started youth programs prior to that. And I have a degree in public policy and nonprofit management. And really have brought all of those experiences with me to Ignite. So we are the statewide after school network for the state of Minnesota. There's an organization like ours in all 50 states. We are an intermediary, so we're a little bit unique and maybe similar to MACC in that we don't directly serve young people necessarily. We're really here to focus on closing race, income, and geography-based access gaps to high-quality after-school programs through professional development of youth workers, really investing in youth work practice, public policy work, advocacy, and issue education, and then really doing partnership building work across the state.
Wow, that's really interesting. Thanks for sharing. I didn't always know all of those details, especially didn't know that you're part of a network of organizations all over the country. Do you ever get together as a network?
We do. It's really a powerful experience to have colleagues all across the country. We're actually coming together in New Mexico in April, and the whole Ignite staff team is going, and it's a great opportunity to learn from our colleagues and doing similar work in creative ways across the country.
Very cool. Okay, Darian, how about you? How long have you been working with Ignite? How did you get involved? And how does your role work within the organization?
Yeah, so I'm Darian Lofton. I'm a program associate at Ignite After School for issue education and policy. Initially, before I came to Ignite, I was a community organizer. And before that, before even meeting Kari from Ignite, me and my friend Poe, who also works at Ignite, we organized a rally it was a march and a rally from Harriet Island to the capital of St. Paul, where we rounded about maybe 2,000 people.
Wow.
And it was about an issue that's going on in Myanmar a military coup that's still happening actually, but it was to raise awareness. And we did that, and we're just very filled with energy. And ever since, we kind of just been moving. So after those events, we did a couple of other things, but initially we co-founded a nonprofit called World Youth Connect, and it's a youth-run nonprofit that focuses on uplifting youth voice and kind of community organizing and helping young people become the leaders in their community. And that's somewhere through there we connected with Kari, and now we are both at Ignite as young workers.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that sounds like a very fortuitous partnership. That I think that you probably are glad you guys crossed paths at that time, and you really found a place in Ignite that elevates youth leadership. So that's a really cool thing in and of itself. And so, Darian, like, how does your role work within the organization? What's a typical day or project like for you?
So since I work mostly in policy and issue education, I help manage the BBA grant program, which is where we got some COVID relief funds, and they were distributed to multiple or 21 grantees, culturally specific. I can't remember the exact number. I think it was 13.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But we manage that grant program. So I'm the person of contact. So a lot of our grantees, if they have an issue or if they need something as far as regarding as the grant, then they would contact me or connect with me directly. And then for policy, we have a policy coordinating council. So me and Kari kind of co-run that. But most of the meetings I usually lead, and yeah.
So I did a little homework and I had to read up about you, Darian, because I was really excited that you were joining us today. And your profile says that you address barriers that prevent young people from participating in community-based organizations. That is such an amazing vision. What does that mean to you, and how are you working towards that at Ignite?
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about the BBA grant program because I think my role at Ignite with that answers this question quite well. But as I said before, the BBA grant program is for culturally specific community organizations, and so those are the communities that all that money is going into. And we kind of manage that program, and we work with the grantees, and we stay connected with them. We meet with them, and that serves the young people that we're kind of talking about. And also, for policy, I kind of founded a initiative slash work group called CAKE, which stands for Cannabis Awareness Education Council, where a group of young people dig into the recreational cannabis bill and kind of dig into it and understand it and figure out what's the issues revolving around young people that don't make sense. Especially because there was a lot in the bill about young people, but there was no young people involved.
Yeah, that would be important, wouldn't
it? So that's where Cake saw an issue. And I was having a conversation with some stakeholders. Kari was in the room, and we were in the room with a senator. And I just happened to be the youngest person in the room. So they're like, you're going to lead this. And that's what I did. So we did Cake, and it's been going strong. I think since September till now, we're still going. But we came out with some policy recommendations. We had a few meetings with Representative Senator Pa, Susan Pa, and it's just been great. And I think that's been a great way to involve young people in policy and have young people be able to dig into something that they're not usually involved in. as far as decision making around policy and issues that they care about, or issues that affect them that they don't know they have the power to um, help change some of the decisions around those issues.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that example. I think that's really interesting. And of course, that could be a podcast in and of itself, learning more about cake and the work that you've done, and how important that is to have those young voices at the table. And your leadership, I'm sure, has been really important in moving it forward. But I think it really goes to demonstrate how Ignite is creating that space for leadership development among youth, and that's so critical. So I think my next question could be for both of you, but Darian, I'll start with you. And it's kind of continuing this thread that Ignite has that passion for building opportunities for young leaders that really shines through in everything that you do. And uh, has I understand that that's been sort of an innovative approach of building partnerships. Maybe cake is an example of that. Is there anything else you would want to share about how you approach creating space for that skill building with youth in your organization?
Yeah, so I guess this is perfect time to talk about YNLC. Um, so I'll
Oh
just
yeah, acronyms. What?
yeah. Oh, sorry. YNLC stands for Young Nonprofit Leaders Club, which is an initiative that Ignite started. I wish Poe was here because we can go back and forth with this really well. But I'll try and come from the origin story to what it is now, because we actually just launched last week, and it was wonderful.
Wow, is this breaking news for the MACC network?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank
Young,
you.
you heard it here first. Young Nonprofit Leaders Club.
Yeah. So initially what it was is me and Poe, we were super excited to come to Ignite and, just have this opportunity to get into a more professional realm of the work that we do. And it was very exciting. But when I was telling this story um, recently, I was just telling everyone when we were coming to Ignite, it was like learning a whole new world of nonprofit leadership and community organizing work, and like all the things that come with it. Because I feel like when we co-founded our youth nonprofit, young nonprofit that was founded by us, we only knew surface level stuff. So Ignite changed and blew our minds in that way. And I always tell people, when we were at Ignite, the first couple of months, it felt like our eyebrows were taped to like our foreheads, because we were just so shocked finding out all this new information that we wish we would have known when we first started. But even learning it later, it's been super helpful, especially in learning different ways in how we do things. But the Young Nonprofit Leaders Club is essentially like an initiative for young people to learn more about what it means to be a young nonprofit leader, or a leader in your community, or just becoming a better community organizer. Um, and yeah, it's just, I can say more, but I feel like Kari
Yeah,
can break it down a little more for you guys.
yeah. I just read an article about how young people aren't necessarily stepping into nonprofit leadership roles the way they used to. So, I mean, what could be more needed?
Right. And I mean, we had quite a few people, young people join or sign up to join. And we had a great first meeting last week. I think one of the most important things is that young people know that there's an opportunity like this, because a lot of the young people that came were actually quite surprised that, one, this was being led by young people, and two, like, how it came to be, because initially it was just a thought. It started out as just a thought, and then it became this thing when we came to Ignite. Then it became more and more feasible,
Mhm.
more and more that we learned, me and Paul, and our third Hey Blue, who I wish she could be here as well. But
Well,
yeah,
that's a beautiful thing. And Kari, you must be pretty proud of this initiative getting off the ground.
I am very proud of it. I think, Ignite went through some, as every nonprofit I think can relate during COVID. There's been a lot of staff churn and transition.
Oh, yeah.
And we have a really small staff team at Ignite, and we lost a few staff to some great new opportunities for them, or moving out of state, or whatever it was. And we had about 3 staff leave around the same time, and we only have 5 staff at the time. And so that was really significant. And it was really just, a serendipitous thing that the universe did, that I met Darian and Poe, and we were able to have dinner during this transition at Ignite. And it just was this idea of like, I think, the two of you are looking for an opportunity to have more formal experience in a more maybe mature nonprofit, and understand what it means to run a nonprofit organization. How can you bring those skills back to youth run nonprofits, or use that in your future leadership, while also really fully contributing to Ignite? So we never brought Poe and Darian into Ignite as an intern or just to learn. Their full staff and employees with roles, but it's also, we're really intentional about mentorship. And with the young nonprofit leadership, I think it was Poe and Darian, just who they are as people, to say, we can't just hold this experience for ourselves. How do we share this more broadly with young people like us? And we really talk a lot about, knowledge as power and skill building as power. And if we really want equity in leadership in the nonprofit sector, we can't depend on every traditional pathway that folks might take to become a nonprofit leader, and really need to figure out how we invest in young professionals and staff to not only do the direct service work, but move from the direct service work into being able to have leadership positions within organizations. And how can we really be intentional about building those skills within our field? Wow. And so we're just really excited about Young Nonprofit Leaders Club, because it's an opportunity. I think the first session we talked about being a mission-driven organization. What does it mean to be a mission-driven organization? What does it mean to lead from your own personal mission as a leader? What does mission drift mean? What are the complexities and challenges around that as a nonprofit? And we have lots of topics planned all the way through, like, what is a budget? What's a grant budget versus an organizational budget?
Oh, there's so much. There's just so much.
There's so much to cover. And some of those topics, right, they maybe don't seem super interesting, but having that knowledge is power. And understanding how that works in a nonprofit hopefully allows more young leaders who really are going to change this world, I think, no doubt, to have the ability to do that and to access the resources that they need to be able to make change in the world.
Yeah. Well, here. And boy, I think you just said that. You just said the headline there. Knowledge is power, and young people can change the world. So how inspiring, and what an amazing story of, really incubating, right? Incubating future leaders. And who knows where these leaders, where their paths will go, but they might have all started at Ignite. So that's pretty exciting.
One other quick thing, Laurel, to say that I will just note that we didn't even intentionally think about when we designed Young Nonprofit Leaders Club, but after the first meeting also became clear, is that there's young people from a number of different nonprofits that come. It's also about building their professional network. So it's also about these young people being in relationship with each other and building their own professional network. And who even knows what will come from those relationships? So also just really excited about that as well.
Well, and for those of us who've been in the field a long time, we're getting tired, right? We need new ideas and new energy. So that's wonderful. So this might be out of left field, but you're in the MACC network. There's 62 organizations. Many of them work with youth. What would you say to the other MACC members? Like, if they're like, oh, I love this idea. Can I get involved? Can I learn more? Can I start my own chapter? Like what should they do if their interest is piqued? Because I think it will be. Or maybe you haven't thought that far down the road yet.
Oh, I'm always thinking that far. Yes, we have thought that far. So we're piloting it, and this first pilot year is going through August, and we're really excited for the young people to also not only learn, but also teach us what is working well and what isn't. And so we'll be learning from this first experience, and we hope to be able to sort of package the experience or the materials, the session designs. And one of our other colleagues at Ignite, Keem, launched something called PDX, which is the Professional Development Exchange at Ignite. And that's where it's really around developing professional development tools that can be used by site managers and program managers to coach and train their own staff. So It's not about us training frontline staff, but us supporting managers to train their own. So we're hoping that this can be something that becomes sort of packaged and can become part of PDX, where if you want to learn these sessions. And it's also really our philosophy at Ignite of like, we started this, take the materials, change it, bring in your own flavor and energy. And we're a statewide network. So we would love to see a YNLC Duluth or a YNLC Wilbur or, whatever, and really providing folks the materials and the information to take it. We also hope to do it again, and we hope to do it maybe in the summer at some point with high school students. We think that would be really
There you go. Yeah, the opportunities are endless. And of course, the social entrepreneur in me says, this is really interesting as a social enterprise. So, but we'll leave that for another conversation. Okay, I think I just have a couple more questions while I still have a few more minutes with you. So the idea of upskilling in organizations and how that can open doors for employees. And I sometimes think, well, what do we have to be competitive about in this nonprofit sector? And one of the things is opportunity. And one of the things is building your leadership skills. And so is there anything like you've observed, and because you're doing a lot of that, you're doing a lot of leadership development and helping people try on many hats, so to speak. Are you observing anything? Are you starting to see indicators that sort of upskilling opportunity really impacts people's, retention or job satisfaction or other outcomes? Anything come to mind of that question?
Yeah. Gosh, I hope Darian can jump into and to share his experience at Ignite and what that has looked like from a skill building and mentorship perspective. But, I think, and maybe it's a luxury of having a small team. And I would love to hear from other MACC members who run larger organizations with lots of staff, how this could be adjusted or how they could think about this. But at Ignite, we're really, really, really committed to understanding everybody's strengths. And coming from a strength-based approach, and even changing people's job titles or roles based on, as they get into a position. I've done this multiple times. I like to break the rules. We create a lot of rules around how things have to be. You get a job, has a title, you have a path that goes from this to this. And we just don't do that. We look at what is the mission of our organization, what is our strategic plan, or whether you have that or use a different kind of guiding tool for the organization. Where are we going? Who are the people that we have to get this done? And how do we play off of our strengths to get this done as a collective? And so we're often doing things outside of maybe our official title because it's something that really we can contribute to the organization based on our skills. So when we look at anyone on our team, whether they're our younger professionals, Darian, Poe, and Hey Blute, or our more senior staff who just have more like years on the planet, we're always saying, okay, we're going to do this thing. We have to do this initiative. What's the skills we each bring, and what is the role we each can take to get from A to B? But I think that also allows everybody to have a variety of experiences, try out a lot of different things. And I think that's been important and intentional mentorship that I think we're really, really intentional about saying like, okay, how do we teach each other, learn from each other, and set real clear space for reflection and to name the learning that we're having together.
Yeah. There's nothing that will fire us up as human beings like the opportunity to take our ideas and run with them, and to, like you said, apply our skills, and to not be like kept into a box, right? To have a little space and freedom to explore.
Yeah, and I would just add to Kari a little bit, especially around. I think one of the most helpful things is definitely like the intergenerational relationships. Um, being it's interesting because there's 3 young people on the Ignite team, and there's 3 not as young people on the Ignite team, and they we each have like a person that like mentors us more than the rest of them. Even though we get like quality skills from each and every one of the people that have been here longer than us. It's just helpful in that way, because when you have like your role and there's somebody there to help you achieve goals in your role, they direct you as best as they can. And it's based off what you can do, but also like you can kind of dip into everything at Ignite, and that's what I like. Like if you're interested in something, like you're like, I want to be a part of that. It's like, okay, well, what can we teach you so you can kind of make your way into this, and however we can support you, we'll do that. And I think that environment has been super helpful, and it's been such a like learning journey. I think Poe would say the same thing. It's just like when we first came in, we were learning a lot as we went, and now it's just like, what do we want to learn now? Like what's
well, and those mentorship relationships are a two-way street, right? I mean, it's not a one-way learning. It's definitely a two-way learning for sure. And I also feel like, I mean, this is how innovation happens, right? By allowing people to explore and learn and try new things. And I personally think nonprofits are a wonderful environment to be able to do that. And gosh knows we need innovations to keep moving forward and to make an impact. So this has been such a great conversation. I know that we're running short on time, but I've learned so much about Ignite, and I've really enjoyed hearing from both of you. And as we wrap up our conversation, what haven't we talked about that you wanted to bring up today? Or is there anything that you would share with other MACC members? I guess I would say like words of wisdom or advice, like what's left unsaid today?
I think coming from like a younger person perspective from Ignite, I think this work that we're doing, I wouldn't say it was super intentional the way it's set up, but it's been so helpful. And I think a lot of people or different organizations can learn from the way that Ignite works, because when you give young people these opportunities the way Ignite has provided opportunities for the young people that work here, you can kind of see what young people can do. I mean, we brought an idea, Young Nonprofit Leaders Club, to Ignite, and it was only an idea. And we're able to work an entire year and create a plan for it to become this super awesome initiative that we literally just launched, and it's being led by young people, and we're being mentored by older people who can help us with more experience and provide the background knowledge that we don't necessarily have yet. And I think like this intergenerational like idea of the way that Ignite works is just so futuristic and like beautiful and authentic. I think people can learn so much, especially if we made this into like a process and told other organizations, well, here's how we do it. And maybe it won't work in the exact same way, but I think this will bring adult mentorships, youth and adult mentorships to another level. And like you said, it's give and receive. Like they get as much from us as we get from them. And it's just been beautiful and a great experience. And I've been here a little bit over a year now. And I'm still super excited to go into the rest of my second year and just enjoy the work that we do. So, yeah.
Right on. How about you, Kari? Any last words?
My last word, and this is something that I have learned, this has been my own sort of learning journey, is to just let go of perfectionism. In doing this work, I think, in addition to what we've talked about today, we've also been doing a lot of internal work to be an anti-racist, equity-centered organization. And there's lots of components to that. And one of them is to let go of just this obsession with perfectionism and an inability to make mistakes, or that every mistake is going to just be the end of the world. And to realize that is not the case. And the only way that we get to innovation, the only way we get to really a better future, is to try a lot of things and have them maybe not all be perfect. And to ask our partners, Ignite is a network. And so we're also, asking ourselves and our partners, we might do something in the world, we might launch an initiative or have an event, and maybe it isn't perfect. And that is okay, because if we can name what we learned from that, and it helps our staff team or our partners learn and get better, to me, that was a success. To me, that's exactly what it needed to be. And the only way to really support young leaders is to create an environment where they can fail safely. And I need to be able to fail safely, and we need to be able to hold each other in that and say, you know what, tomorrow's a new day and we're going to learn from this and keep going. And I think if we didn't have that attitude and that approach, we wouldn't have launched half the things that we did in the last year. And so I would really just, ask everyone to just sit with that. Where are you just too worried about making a mistake? And if you let that go, what could you do?
Wow. I think that is exactly what the MACC Network needed to hear today. I know for myself, I would like to have that on a sign on my desk, or maybe needlepoint on a pillow, something that I can revisit that on a daily basis. And boy, that sure resonates, because I think perfectionism creates fear, and fear gets in the way of innovation. You laid it out. So thank you. That's a great way to wrap up our conversation. And what a treat it's been for me to get the opportunity to chat with you both and to meet you, Darian. Thank you both, Darian and Kari. It's been great to hear from you, and it's just wonderful to hear and learn from our network of MACC members. So MACC members, you are encouraged to visit the MACC website and our Ask MACC webpage of additional workforce resources. We've curated this to support you in your work to strengthen your workforce and to address challenges. So you will find a variety of information and links to helpful content, including more in this series of recorded podcast interviews with thought leaders. So keep in touch. We're here to support you and our network of members. Thank you. Have a great day and be well. Goodbye.